Going live in 20 seconds. Y'all ready?
I'm asking Clarissa to go live. I'm telling Clarissa we just have a quick question.
You're gonna keep her on here.
I wish you could lock people in, like where they can't leave. But that's super interesting. There's been so if you look at that Google Doc, there's actually I think the topics are kind of interesting, starting with the idea of social distancing versus social isolation, all the way down to there has been things where people were talking about how is this going to affect the progress made with social justice within the workplace? Does it help increase social justice? Because you don't necessarily have to see someone's color, you don't have to see their race, you just hear their ideas. Or places that don't, if you can't afford really good Wi-Fi and really good connection, does it just basically increase that gap between the have and have-nots?
Yeah.
Cheers. What's JP doing?
I had to go to the bathroom and I didn't
Keep the camera on.
Yeah, just start.
Can you send what's the link?
I got it.
I'm sending it.
Did you send out the link of the actual YouTube?
Yeah, I sent it to the team and I'm gonna put it on Instagram right now.
I'm not gonna lie, I changed my Slack theme today and it it broke my mind. I can't figure out who's talking to me.
Hey! Oh shoot! So we're not even going to be able to see who's watching.
Why?
We're just going to be talking to each other.
Clarissa, you're back on.
You're back. Welcome. Welcome.
Fine.
You are on the live. You are on the live Brandbeats.
Gonna leave.
Oh, Clarissa,
are you serious?
stay.
Yes, I have to go. I'm to the rolling cancel virtual baby shower, guys.
Where are you going? On a hot date?
Ooh. Again,
Yeah. We should.
How are you helping throw it?
I'm showing him his presents that we made.
Oh,
That I'm pretty sure none of you actually made except Eric.
I didn't
Yeah,
have
my shit was tight.
You can show him via this. That can be the first portion of this live Brandbeats.
I'm out of here. I hate you guys, and I knew this was gonna happen.
Clarissa, stay. I'm the only girl.
You are the
Where's Emma? Emma's not in here?
what?
Emma's not joining?
That's why I just sent her a link. I think we need to balance this out.
Who?
What?
Emma.
You.
No, I gotta
You.
go.
It's so funny to me that we can't fucking watch this on our computer.
Dude. Hold on. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're not.
Wait, what do you mean you can't watch it?
Do we even know if people watching right now?
I'm putting it on Instagram right now.
Dude, this is so weird.
I'm already drunk as shit.
No, it's just weird because we're gonna be talking to each other. There might be an
Alright,
audience, but
guys.
we don't know.
No, I'll
Have
have
so much fun.
Yeah, you could access the
I'll
YouTube
be
with yourself.
watching you. I need to
Oh,
keep
how do you
eyes
access
on
you? How do you
making
access
sure the video doesn't get
Go on basic chat.
Bye.
Bye.
What's up, JP?
so man.
Hi. What's up, Eric?
What's up?
Hi,
You
Nicole.
ready for this?
Hi, Nicole.
Hey.
Hey.
What?
I'm stressed. I don't know why.
You're about to
Why
see
stress?
how the bacon is fried.
I've been
How
on.
the sausage gets made.
I was on one of these things back in my day.
Did Slack update? Where are my channels? What?
Yeah, it did.
Oh boy. So there's a link to watch this?
There is in
Oh
2
my
seconds.
God, it's on
Oh
there.
nope. It's
Nope.
restricted. It's restricted.
It's restricted for basic
Gotta
employees.
watch on your phone, Cuddy.
How?
That is the dumbest thing.
What do you mean how? You click the link.
But where is it?
Basic chat.
Oh.
Wait, are we live right now? Am I eating?
Yeah.
Good, go for it. I got a fucking bottle of soju. We got food and drinks. We're doing it.
There's 5 people
I
watching.
got a Christmas koozie.
Christmas koozie.
Guys are
What are koozies, man?
They just keep your hands warm. so your hands don't steal your beer's delicious coldness. Are you cold, Nicole? Why do you have so many jackets? Why do you guys all have jackets? It's so nice out.
Freaking cold it is outside.
Oh, I mean, Hannah
No,
can.
I literally was just outside. It was nice.
Oh, it's
hate
freezing,
you guys
man.
fight.
It's freezing. It's only like 60 something.
I don't feel like this should be live yet. I'm eating.
Got to, dude. We gotta
Fat,
open it
know
up.
you're
Good
fat
wait. It's up there.
now.
It's on Instagram.
This is my first meal.
Well, that's your problem. You should have eaten earlier.
That's true.
Nah, that's fine.
Yeah. All right.
Hold on. So you're saying people could see us if they
Yeah. Yeah, we're live. We got 8 watching right now.
Uh-oh.
Got the whole world fucking got so many eyes on this right now, dude.
10 of those are probably
This is our
like
time.
JP. Just kidding.
I just got 9 phones over here. I'm like Kevin Gates.
I have so many phones.
Yeah. So whoever's watching, this is how Brandbeats usually starts off.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Otis is watching.
Really? Hey, Dan.
Yeah, dude.
We got some comments coming in.
Cheers. Cheers.
We got a dab emoji from Dan.
So Eric, are you
Dab.
moderating?
Dap or like,
I can moderate. I mean, I don't know. I can
Yeah,
moderate
Eric.
the comments. I can like field questions and shit.
yeah,
Cool.
Eric got that.
I'm charging my AirPods,
Um,
primed and ready to go for this thing.
Oh,
So we have a few minutes before we start. So if anybody's actually tuned in, it's gonna be. We're waiting until 4 on the dot.
this burrito's giving me
Did I go
heartburn.
grab
This
my
is no problem.
AirPods?
You can totally
Yeah.
grab your AirPods because we haven't officially started yet.
Okay.
To anybody who is on, so Dan, can you hear us?
Dan,
To
Dow,
all,
Lindsay,
to all our fan,
Garrett,
Garrett's on?
Garrett.
Garrett.
Gear Bear.
to Douglas. Just join the link. Just join the chat.
I know. Garrett,
You're at the office.
honestly,
Yeah.
we should really balance this out. We need one more person.
Just dive in. Geronimo.
We should just get a 20-person Brandbeats, dude. You fucking sick.
Honestly, we could.
We could.
I told Emma.
What is she doing?
She said she just went for a run.
So yeah, Dan could hear us.
Cool.
We're good. We're good.
Dang, Garrett said hi, BB.
Hi, babies.
It's all delayed. They got like a little slight delay, so
That's fine. That means we don't have to answer all the
I'm
questions.
gonna stop eating now.
they're coming to
I'm
us.
embarrassed.
Dang, dude.
What is wrong with YouTube?
There's so many real people on here. This is crazy.
We got.
Yeah, we got 12 watching right now. We got the whole world on
We have
us.
how many? 20?
12.
Wow.
We got a full. Oh no, 11. Just went down. Someone left.
Oh, we lost
I don't
somebody.
know why.
It's going up
Oh, this is
on
Inception.
on a
I
Friday.
can't watch this.
Oh no, you can't. If you watch it, that's gonna feel real weird.
Good. No, it's weird. All right.
We got a high scrub from Luke Clark. Someone shouting you out, JP.
I got
Famous.
famous.
Got
Famous.
fans out there, dude.
That's right. The only way. The only way. Hey, Luke.
Oh, I gotta get heartburn medicine. Hold on. Burrito.
All right, we're almost there. I know we said 4, but
Give it a couple
just
minutes.
a bit longer.
Earpods on. Can't hear,
Oh.
bro.
Sorry, I have a dog that's barking. Zip it.
Yo, have you guys seen that video of the girl who forgets her cameras on? She goes to take a piss
Oh my god.
in her company meeting.
What does she
That
do?
was the most awkward
She,
thing. I've
Are
ever
you
seen.
doing that
literally,
right
like,
now?
she has her laptop. No, I was just in the bathroom maybe taking it, but she has her laptop. And she goes, maybe it was fake. I don't know. But like, she goes to put it down on the ground and she forgets to turn her camera off and just like pulls her pants down and starts peeing. And all of her coworkers are like, She just closed her laptop.
So
She
bad.
realizes.
That's
Horrible.
gross.
I think Clarissa said don't need 6. She said it looks good as is.
Nice.
I'm just reading
Yeah, that's fine.
comments that we're getting in from our agency Slack. Well,
Oh, do we do Ryan Vance's baby shower?
there
She is.
she is. Now we balance out this grid.
There it is.
Yeah.
Howdy. How was your run?
Who told you?
I got eyes everywhere.
It was good. It was good. Quick 2 miles, around the block.
There's no such thing as a quick 2 miles.
Quick meaning like
She
20 minutes.
just put in a tight 2. Put in a tight 2 mile.
What's everybody doing? 4 p.m. Friday right now. That's
4 p.m. Friday. Where's your drink at?
I don't think I'm ready for this weekend. Tired. How was your guys' week?
Same old.
This just became a personal
Holding
conversation.
down the
I
quarantine.
mean, we're not live yet. Isn't that what this is before we go live?
No, we're actually live.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Whoever is watching, as you can tell, this is our first time doing this. It's an experiment. Thank you for tuning in for the experiment. Hope you enjoy our random ramblings.
Where's Erwin's hat from?
Welcome to Brandbeats.
Hey guys,
Welcome back to-
welcome to our YouTube channel.
What's up, YouTube?
Give us a follow and a like.
YouTube.
Yo, Erwin, where's your hat from?
Subscribe below.
Someone's asking. We got Will Jameson on it.
Where's my hat from?
Yeah, Norse.
Who?
Will
Yeah.
Jameson, dude.
No, I know. I don't know where it's from.
Okay, well,
Erwin 100% has a $90 beanie on right now.
yeah.
Dude, no, all of
absolutely.
my clothes are below $50.
You're wearing a Patagonia jacket, aren't you?
This is Puma.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
You know what though? You can't tell the difference between your jacket and your beard.
I
It
know.
just kinda
That's
blends
cool.
together.
It's like it really. It's. I didn't finish my thought at all.
So we don't know where the beanie's from. That's where we netted out.
It's
That's
sick. They didn't want to know anyway.
guys. That's what. That's what this whole Brandbeats is actually going to be about. Identifying
with a beanie.
clothing.
All right. Should we do it live?
Oh yeah, who's kicking us off?
You. Why do you always ask this?
I know, because this is not normal. This isn't a normal thing. You know,
I think it's
this
you.
is the way like we're already live. But who has our topical conversation?
Yeah, so we're
You
talking
are the
about-
one. The chosen one.
No, Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're chopping it up about social distancing and connection in the age of COVID-19. So all the cultural trends and all the things from there.
Well, so we've been in quarantine for exactly 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Officially in California, we've been in quarantine like officially 2 weeks. How has like
Hold on.
have you what? Go ahead.
No, I'll just say pause. Everybody who is listening should just give respect to Eric's radio voice. It was very, very smooth.
I'm out of here.
Super.
I'm out this.
I mean, now we can get back.
I feel like you're about to spin a smooth jazz hour.
I should. I got my turntables over there. Good. Fuck it. I'll just hijack this Brandbeats.
That's how we can finish this off until YouTube kicks us out.
Erwin's literally drunk. He's been drunk for like 2 hours.
I'm already there. I killed a half bottle of soju. So
Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
Well, you ain't got to drive apparently. So
kick
wait,
us off, Andrew.
no. I'm just curious because on the topic that you were like saying, like the first 2 weeks of this, I felt like the second week was definitely different than week one for me. I felt like week one, I was like, oh yeah, I can kind of like, this is okay. And this week, time is sort of slipping together in a weird way. It doesn't help working like, if you work extra days a week. How has it felt for you all, like now that you're a couple weeks in? Because I know like the novelty of it and the weirdness of it at first, you're kind of like, it's easy to deal with, but is it getting to anybody yet?
Considering I broke this wine glass by mistake, I would say that might be an indication of where I'm at. No, I mean, it's definitely weird. It feels like an emotional roller coaster, right? Like there's days where it's like, oh, I'm at home, like life's great, you know? Then there's moments where you're just like, who am I? And no one answers.
I think every night.
Funny Zoom moment.
Like every night I go to sleep going like, oh yes, I'm gonna wake up at home. I'm gonna get to have that like personal time. I'm gonna get to relax in the morning and then slowly get into work. But it never happens. Like that balance is hard to find when you're working from home, but not by choice. I think when you're working from home and it's by choice and you have the option to still go outside, go for a run, go for a walk, go get some coffee, go grab a bite to eat at the end of the day, it's a lot easier. I was going to say a little bit easier. It's a lot easier as opposed to when you're kind of, you're stuck in the house and every time you go outside, you feel guilty.
Yeah.
Going outside. It definitely makes every single day run together, like you're saying, even though there is different days. Like today is Friday, but it kind of it felt like yesterday was Monday.
Yeah, it feels like a simulation that we're just on repeat. Like you just get up and the same things happen, and the same things happen.
Yeah.
And it's like those beginning of the movie montages where it's like he hits the alarm, he wakes up, he goes to work, hits the alarm, wakes up, goes to work. Like we're doing that, but we're not going anywhere.
That's so true.
I 100% on Monday morning woke up like as vivid as I've ever thought in my life that it was Saturday morning and I didn't have to go to work. Like I was like, I didn't have shit to do. I was like, oh, today's my day off. Like as vivid as possible was my Monday morning. And it's just like, because you're looking at the same four walls all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I just feel,
And there's mute.
Yeah, but it's a good point though, Erwin. I feel like not having that, even just like some sort of like minimal commute, just a commute in and of itself, like into the office. Like I know a lot of people work from home, but even a commute to me, like which is 5 minutes up the road from my house to the office, is some sort of like transition that shifts my mindset. And I don't like getting started in the day is like a little awkward, right? Because I'll sit down and I'll be like, oh, I'll eat breakfast in like, an hour and a half or something, versus like actually having a morning routine. I just try and get to things, and it's just, I don't know. It definitely like, I don't know if it hurts or helps my productivity, but it's definitely different.
I'm glad that you brought up the commute, because even back like when I first started here, and we didn't have our office space in St. Louis, where we were working from home for I think came in around like 2 months or something like that. Like the commute is what I missed the absolute most. And it was like, as soon as you get that moment to just like listen to music or do something that isn't kind of everyday, like isn't life related, like you're not at home doing something, you're not at work working, you're in between those two. That is something like, as soon as I got that back, it made all the difference in the world to me. And I think like it's interesting to hear that. I mean, I assumed that was everybody and that was just the case, but that was something that like I remember physically, like it was a very vivid memory of something being like, wow, like this feels so much different than the last 2 months. That was also those 2 months were the first time in my life that I ever physically felt stress, like physically felt like overwhelmed and felt it like in my neck and like almost suffocating in a way. Which would be interesting to see how this goes as people who haven't done that for an extent of time, meaning I'm assuming all of you guys. Like that'll be interesting to see, like as if this goes on, another month, whatever significant amount of time, how that begins to feel.
True.
I think it comes down to, obviously you guys know where my take is going to be on this whole thing through mindfulness and mindset, but like honestly, I think it's all about just retraining that habit, because like we're in this constant habit every day of like waking up and driving to work and we're on a schedule, but it's retraining your brain to like rebuild a schedule and like start to create a new habit. So for me, instead of kind of doing that drive to work, I make sure to get out of my house and like go for a walk and just get outside. I'm still social distancing, but I'm like commuting in a different sense. Like I'm still getting on foot in a different sense outside so that I can come back inside and like treat that as if I was walking into the office.
I 100% agree with that. Like, I think the days that have felt the best are the days where I wake up like at 6 and then make a cup of coffee, put on a record, spend like 30 minutes reading, and then just really utilize something outside of the work as a commute. Even if I'm not walking, or even if I'm not getting out, it's just creating. I like that idea of like you're creating the sense of a commute, or what you benefited from, or what you liked about the commute. You're creating that same atmosphere no matter what you're doing, whether it is walking, it's meditating, it's working out, it's just some routine in the morning that helps to break up the time, because it is so easy, especially in the creative industry. It's so easy to like go to bed with an idea, wake up with that same idea, and then want to act or want to activate on that idea as soon as you wake up. Because I've definitely had that, and those are the days that are like everything just runs together, and next thing I know, the day is over.
Yeah.
I'm like,
4:30.
I was actually talking to Em about that earlier, and it seems like now, like, what is the separation between work and home, right? Like, I feel like our home is our office and vice versa right now. So how do we like walk that line? You know, it's a little tricky these days.
Yeah, you gotta make your own boundaries, I think, which is interesting. Like the idea of like, you know, either going for a walk or like doing something that gets you out of the physical space. It's just creating structure and boundaries for yourself, which is like, I think we're all kind of finding like easier said than done sometimes. Like I go to bed with the best intentions to do what you just said that you do, Erwin. So I'm very jealous if you're actually doing that. Like I'm getting at 5:45. I'm gonna do my like run. I'm gonna do my meditation. I'm gonna do my journal, and then I end up getting up at like 7:30 and being like, you know. So
I haven't slept this late in a long time. Like it's probably because I'm staying up a lot later. Like I normally go to bed pretty early and I'm like an early riser. But now the next, like I'll be working and the next thing I know it's 9 and I'm like, oh shit, I guess I'm gonna stay up for a few hours, like decompressing maybe. And so it is really interesting how your routine, you have this like really structured routine that you don't ever think about. It's so like just it comes so naturally to you. Like even like the fact that you may be at the, like if you're a person who does go into an office, like you may be a person that goes in, you're like, I'm hungry, and like so now's the time where I start thinking about like I'm gonna head home to like cook dinner and like switch over. And right now it's just like I just don't have any of those boundaries. And it's interesting though, like Nicole, that you like are giving yourself structure in the morning, because I fought this like working remote like tooth and nail. Like I tried to stay in the office as long as I possibly could, because I'm so big on like zoning. Like my house is like my relaxed space, and I don't like working from home. I'd rather drive in every single day and be there, because then when I go home, it's like this is where I turn off, and like this has like fucked me up. So I've had to like zone my house in a different way, where like I've like taken over a work area where like this is what goes down here, and like when I leave that area I don't think about work. And that's been helpful.
Well, and thinking about this like in a different sense too, like your home is your work is your home. Like how do you guys feel about the way things are shifting in terms of like bringing all of these like workout and exercise initiatives to digital, and like you then are starting to turn your home space into like your workout space, which is like then a whole nother level of separation. You have to like now where you usually would go to the gym or do something on an outside activity, you're having to actually like bring that inside of your house. So it's actually like trying to like create those barriers too. Which is like even, I don't know, it just throws a whole nother wrench into it.
Yeah, I've realized some of my spaces for sure. Because
Yeah.
like you get up, you try and like do a little bit of a home hit or a home workout, and you're just like, I'm in my living room putting my feet on my couch, do like elevated push-ups, and then
What?
using the kitchen counter to do tricep dips. Like it
But
just
like,
it becomes this weird sort of like
what's
it almost feels like
interesting about that though is like I've actually never been a person either that's like been interested in online workouts. Like I've always been one that's like wanted to actually go do like like just a physical workout or outside, get outdoors, do whatever. And it's interesting because like with all of the free trials and all these things that are kind of like being offered right now, I have my hands in like so many different free trials and I'm learning so many different workouts, but it's almost like I'm still not sold in like wanting to do them inside my house. Like I love that it's bringing the community together, but I'm not sold on like wanting to work out in my house.
Like the zeitgeist behind that is kind of interesting. Like home workouts like Taibo and like Zoom. Oh, was it Zuma or Zumba?
Zumba.
Yeah, those are very current.
Those used to be like for moms, you know.
Very current.
We talk shit about that all the time, and now it's like essential. Like Peloton too, even as recently as like a year ago, people were talking mad shit about Peloton, and now it's like we got to do what we got to do, you know. So
I feel like that's an interesting transition into the larger sort of question that we were asked when we put up our AMA, which is how do we feel like this is going to ultimately, or right now, how do we see it shifting culture and society outside of just like our personal experiences? And then past that, how do we see it actually like impacting and shifting culture overall? Like for
that
you,
was
speaking about like working out, like we can start there.
That was going to be a question that I was going to ask. And like, I haven't figured out where my stance is, if I'm in the boat of Nicole of being like, I absolutely hate this, or if they're like there is like, we have an exercise bike. It's not a Peloton, but it is an exercise bike. And like, that is rad to have. And we've had that for a little bit. And like, that is like convenient, but I don't think I'm in the boat of like being able to just do a workout in my house. But I think there probably are people who are being forced into it who are going to find that they really love it. And I wonder what that's going to do for small like gyms and boutique gyms, because I think like right as like this hit, boutique gyms were at this like peak because we had all these Instagram fitness people. We had like this like digital community of fitness like beings like busting at the seams. And then that spawned these like boutique gyms that people wanted to go to with specific trainers. And it'll be very interesting to see how that like response is after this, knowing that a lot of those trainers are poised and ready to come into your homes and give you workouts at home, and just seeing like what the repercussions are from that front of like how it disperses afterwards.
I don't know.
And it could go back to normal.
Yeah. I will say, like, my friend teaches at Peloton, and I don't have the bike either, but when they open up the classes for free, I took one of her classes the other day, and it was like all my friends from college and I all logged on together, and with like, 1,500 other people, and it was pretty cool. Like, I will say that really actually put me in a better mood, because I was like, I'm not getting up, like, all right, you're gone. I was like, I'm not getting up, I'm tired. But then I got up and I did that, and I just, even if it's just a little name on the screen, and I saw her and she was like shouting out people, her mom was on there, I'm like, that's pretty cool that we're still like making it happen, Yep.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think I've seen some interesting things from smaller brands where they've been utilizing Zoom or like Instagram Live to actually still continue their fitness classes. Like there's a couple of CrossFit gyms, smaller CrossFit gyms in San Diego that are like maintaining their class schedule, just utilizing Zoom. And then they like rented out all of their equipment to the people who belong to that gym. So you have equipment at home and then you can still attend the classes. And so I think it's been super interesting seeing how people are utilizing, and we've talked about this in length for the past like 2 weeks, utilizing the tools and technology that have always been there or been there for the past couple of years to actually be social and to actually like deeply connect and keep their businesses going in very interesting, unique ways.
Yeah. And like not to take this to the negative, because I think it's great to stick on the positive, but I just read this article, I forget, The Atlantic or on Medium, just written by someone who was like, I think 67 years old though, and how they were saying everyone's getting mad because like all the old people are out booking cruises and out in the streets, but like we're all lucky that we can like use Zoom, know what it is, and like log in with the click of a button. But there are so many people out there that are older and isolated and like exercise or socializing, whatever it is, like those routines for them, they don't know how to do that shit, and they're kind of like, they're like isolated on top of isolated. So it's just like it's a privilege that we can at least do this stuff, you know, as young people with technology. Because
it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to me too, because like it's always a double-edged sword, right? Like there's going to be like we all hate it, right? Because we don't have a choice in some ways, right? In many ways, like we hate it. I'm interested to see though if like people will value isolation anymore after this. I think like initially there'll be like a big like response to be like, I really want to go back to the way I did everything. But I wonder if like post that initial sort of like push, like, okay, I just need change, I need to get back to normal, if people will miss something about the isolation.
Yeah, I mean, this might be not the right thing to say, but I'm kind of like digging it a little bit at the same time. Like it's like that double-edged sword.
We don't miss you either.
I don't miss you at all, no. No, but I do. I miss
Don't get.
No, I think I'm with Emma. Like I'm obviously a very independent person too, and it's people. All my friends are like, "Don't you hate this? Like it's the worst thing ever." And I kind of have like a different standpoint on it, where it's like, this is how we all should be. Like we should all be like focusing on ourselves, but like finding ways to like connect with people through whatever we're doing, like social, through work, if that's like creating Zooms, like focusing on yourself and like bettering yourself makes you a better human anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I kind of like it, but
as hard as it is to work, live, and work out in the same space, I think when you look at the positives of it, again, there's a shit ton of negatives. We can't like ignore that. But when you look at what it's doing for at least people being able to catch up to the speed of technology, because we've been running, trying to catch up to the pace and speed of technology and just creating. This was almost like this large reset where it forced us to, as a society, as a world, like take a step back and like just be and just with yourself, think about yourself, have more introspection time. There was like a really good podcast that I listened to last year. It was like a TED radio hour where they were talking about our lack of time for introspection because we're actually never bored. As a society, we're always going out. We always have something to do. We never reach the point of boredom. And sometimes at that point of boredom is where you actually get to know yourself, understand yourself. And you can, if you're a creative, you actually get to explore some like very, very unique ideas because you have this tension point. And it's almost like now we are all forced into this space of actually being a little bit introspective. Yeah. And when you're connecting with somebody, you're definitely more intentional with the people you're connecting with. Because you're not just going to randomly Zoom somebody who you don't really want to talk to. You're like going to Zoom people who you have relationships with like from childhood. And you're going to reconnect with people. Like I was talking to one of our developers, David, and he was like, he reconnected with a lot of his like old high school friends who he hasn't talked to in years. Because those are the people who he realizes he has the most in common with, and he wants to reconnect with them.
I've had more FaceTime happy hours with my friends in the last 2 weeks than I have in person in like 4 months. Like that's what's wild.
And something I like about go ahead, EP.
Oh, I was gonna say I've also noticed we live on a busy, it's a busy street, but it's not like a massive street, and there are people walking up and down there all the time. I have seen more people, and it's funny because it looks super weird because they are standing further apart, but I have seen more people stopped and have long engaged conversations on the street just because they're walking past people. And like it's been like a noticeable amount of congregations of having conversations that you never saw before. And it's just so interesting to that point. Like we're seeing, like people are seeing other people, and like the interactions are becoming more important to them, and so they are being far more engaged in that setting than they would be any other time.
100%. I will agree. Like in this urban area, like I walk my dog like a few times a day, and generally on the street, people do not engage or like smile. Like that's like a Midwest thing. Like when you go and like people smile at you and say like, hey, but I've noticed for a fact that people are more engaged with one another just passing each other on the street where they just like look at you and smile or say something to the dog or something. It's very weird. I've been like, if there's more people outside, they're happy.
People are like, we're all in this together. You smile, you're like, we might have corona, we don't know, we're over here, but we're like, we're doing this. We're cool. Like,
no, that's actually
or someone's
an
walking.
Go
ahead. I was saying someone's walking, you all split apart, and you have this like little shit like grin on your face because you both know that you're like giving space, but like there's this connection that you would never make with them.
Yo, honestly, I've been thinking about this, and like, it's interesting because connection is what got us here in the first place. Like globalization, people traveling, like that's what has spread the virus. But I feel like connection is also what's going to get us through like this whole quarantine, right? Like hanging out with everyone and just doing things like this, like, you know, having conversations. And I could speak for like the brand, like, and Erwin said this earlier, but we haven't had as much social content as we've had like the past 2 weeks.
Yeah,
we've just been like pumping shit out, you know, and it's because like,
gold, man.
Yeah, we're just trying to connect with people, and I think that's like the beauty of this. And even though it's a shitty situation, like it's brought people together. So
something else too is like, just I don't know, like I feel like I sometimes struggle with this idea of like everyone's got to be like good vibes only all the time, you know? Like I feel like I just, especially in America, like everyone's like positive. Remember, I gotta be positive. And like right now, I feel like everyone has permission to just be like, shit sucks, or like, man, I'm having a hard time, and like that's okay. And it's not like, oh, that person's negative. It's just like we're kind of getting in touch individually because we have no choice with these four walls or with each other, just being like, hey, it's okay to feel like shit or to feel confused or like frustrated. Like you don't have to just put that like coat of like positivity on things to like get through this. It's like, you know, and I think that's just really interesting. Like there's been a lot of discovery in that, and I appreciate it. I appreciate those conversations, and that honestly, that's being allowed.
It does let people be a little bit more real, right? Like I've connected with some people too, just in the same way like you were talking about, Nicole, where I'm like, it makes you remember like you have real people who really give a shit about you, who think about you in times like these when it is a low time too. It's like, and it's refreshing and connecting in an interesting way. But spend something negative on it just because why not? You know, it's something that
this
I think, right, this is too happy. No, it's good. But here's what I feel like this is something that's very awkward that's happening. And Ryan Parker's our VP of strategy, pointed this out to me the other day. He's just like, if I get another fucking email from a brand saying we're in this together, thanks Snack House for your email list. Thanks for being here for me. Like I really feel connected to you.
That's actually really funny. I got an email from Sharp, like Sharp Healthcare, saying that they were like closing down like one of their like whatever centers. And I was like, what a shitty email to send. Like, hey, we're all going through this crazy time together, but like we're shutting down this to protect our people. Like I was like, you're instilling more fear like into people than anything. But yeah, it's true. I have gotten more emails in the last like 3 weeks from just random things I didn't even know I was subscribed to that are like, we're in this together. And I'm like,
it's kind of like at a certain point, if you aren't one of the first brands to speak and say something, then there's really no need to say it at this point, unless you say it on your social, I guess. But even then, it's what are you doing type thing. Like, what is the actual action behind these words that you're saying? You're saying it together, but what are you actually doing?
And that brings up a good point.
Yeah.
About like, have you guys seen that? There's like a video montage from Gal Gadot, the Wonder Woman actress.
Yeah.
She like made a whole compilation of like celebrities singing "Imagine" by John Lennon, and they got a whole lot of backlash because people were like,
"Tore that shit up."
These rich ass celebrities like doing nothing but lip syncing on YouTube,
on their palatial grounds.
Right. In their mansions,
What's actually really cool is this is where Garrett, one of our designers, we were talking about this. We've actually seen the power of some brands because they've been giving a shit ton of money to actually help, as opposed to just like doing a social post and talking.
Mark Cuban wrote an article. I can't remember where it is. My buddy Marcus sent it to me, but it was in it. It says that brands will be remembered now for what they do right now for decades to come, and it'll be like how you treated their employees and what they did within their company. for like, this is just like what the future of brands and how they are going to be perceived like for so many years to come. I wanted to ask a question too about the email thing, because it's obviously, yes, I gotten emails as well, but one of the sides of it that makes me kind of laugh is down the road, I would love to see the amount of unsubscribes during this week, because I just feel like these people are coming out of the woodworks and sending emails, and it's just so like, when I get the Facebook birthday notifications, that's just like sending people up that I haven't seen in forever and just allowing me to unfriend them. So it's like, I just like that, they bring that to me and I was like, oh yeah, I don't need to be friends with them anymore and unfriend them. And it's the same thing that the emails are doing. I haven't thought about this brand in forever, and you could have sent me marketing for another 2 years. I would have not known. But now it's like, oh yeah, unsubscribe. And I guarantee you I'm not the only one. That'll be interesting.
Unrollme.com.
Downer. Zoom downloads are up though. Zoom is killing.
Sure.
Zoom is a new noun verb. We're zooming, you know, it's like they're killing it right now. But something I thought was interesting is like, as a consumer, I mean, we're talking about being connected, which again, there's like the negative and the positive. I'm going negative again for a second, but or just true, maybe just true. But like, you know, you see those no, but like people are also like all, you know, for themselves right now. You look at the shelves, like you've seen those post like photos of the old lady looking at the empty shelf where it's like there's none left for the elderly because everyone's like hoarding shit at the grocery store. Like it's interesting, like not only that, but also like I feel more pressure and kind of like a weird vibe as like a consumer, where I see some people posting on Instagram, like brands, I shouldn't say people, brands posting as if nothing's going down. They're like, hey, 40% off, buy our shit. And then some other brands are like, hey, we feel wrong, like, but also here's a photo of our shit, but don't buy it if you don't feel right, but please buy it. And it's like kind of weird because we have almost like more power than ever. And it's like, we can decide, like, do we want to, even when it comes down, like you feel pressure to like support small business or restaurants. And then you also feel this pressure to like consolidate and have your money in front of you and not wanting to spend it. And like, it's just a really unique and interesting spot right now to be in as a consumer.
I actually spent so much money when this shit started. I was like, I gotta buy everything.
Terrible.
No, I mean, I wasn't a hoarder. I just was like, I literally was saying to somebody the other day, like, I feel like I can't even retail therapy right now because you can't like online shop if I'm just like bored. And I can't even do that. Like you can't, everything's sold out everywhere.
Well, and to add to Emma's comment too, or like just to get the conversation started, like even going back to the email thing, like I'm also getting emails from brands that are offering like online consultations and stuff. So it's like continuing to add to that like business segment of like, hey, let's like keep our business going, or like we're adding additions here. How do you want help? And I'm like, how can you give me an online skin consult? Like there's just like weird things that brands are trying to do to like stay alive right now. And it's like, it's almost like coming off as like forceful, but like, I don't know.
I think outside of the hospitality industry, because I feel like that's a whole separate thing. Like they make it ridiculously hard. Outside of that, I feel like this is honestly leveled the playing field for small brands and large brands. Again, outside of hospitality. Mainly because it's caused a huge disruption where we do have to make the decision whether you support small or large and where you're going to put your dollar as a customer. And it gives that opportunity because you oftentimes have a deeper, richer connection with that small brand. If it's like a local shop that you always shop at, you want to support them, their messaging is not going to come across like that to you. It's going to come across like, hey, I know you, and this is something that we made for you, et cetera. Like it feels a little bit more real and authentic. And I find myself putting my money right now behind smaller companies. Like even going into the hospitality world, like one of my friends has been delivering burritos. You like order burritos from him like almost every day, like 20 or 30, mainly because it's like, there's this real connection. I'm going to bypass Postmates. I'm going to order directly from these individuals because of that connection.
Did you just say you're ordering 20 or 30 burritos a day?
Clarify.
That's not.
Damn, dude.
You can't just say that, not unpack it.
Like the small burritos. They're like small.
But
still seems like way too many. Nobody makes anything in portions where you need 30.
It's like Papa John saying he ate 40 pizzas in a month. Like that's not possible.
Dude, Andrew by eating a burrito before this.
Wait, how many did you, Eric? Because you ordered some of them, right?
Yeah, I got 3.
Oh, All
I got
right,
one
whatever.
extra.
Anyway,
But-
the point is, I feel like it's created a new space of unique opportunities that, when identified, open up a whole new market.
Yeah.
For some people.
Yeah.
In a non-inauthentic way, in a non-salesy way. It's actually
100%,
meeting
yeah.
a direct need. And
Yeah.
so I think there's a whole slew of like unique needs that can be met by small businesses.
For sure.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about that too. Like, I've seen tweets about, like, you know, someone's daughter, someone's son, talking about, oh my God, this is my parents' business. You know, they're not able to survive at this time because, you know, we're not making enough money and shit like that. And it's like, is Postmates the one thriving, or is it small businesses through Postmates? Like, I don't know. There's just like weird dichotomy between like the delivery services like Uber Eats, Postmates, Grubhub, and like the small businesses they serve. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like, what is the interplay, do you guys think, between those two parties? I guess.
Well, I feel like I don't know if it's like large or small is the distinction, but I just feel like moving forward as like, I mean, this might be like an overstatement, but as we think about like consumerism and capitalism and how those two work so well together and how they have worked pretty well together up until this moment, hopefully it won't go on too much longer, but like the brands that are really leaning into experience, I think, are ones that will win. And like obviously in a totally remote situation, like even just like the skin consultation, like Nicole said, it's kind of awkward, but people that are like preparing for when this will eventually end and we will bounce back and be able to leave our homes in droves and go out into the streets, like those brands that are actually like not just selling you a product, I think are really gonna succeed. And the ones that are prepping for that, like, will do a good job.
Yeah, kind of be there in the latent times.
Yeah.
Do you guys think when this is over and if there is a normal, there is like, I think it's gonna be, we're gonna have this and then it's gonna be nuts for a little bit and then it'll finally level out. And when it finally levels out, do you think people, the way that we're talking about small businesses and the way that we're thinking about how can we support them in times where they can't provide us the service that they are known for? So like restaurants that have amazing experiences when you go there, that are doing curbside, like it's not the same. And you go there because of the experience. However, the experience has built this connection with you and the people that are there that like you can't turn your back on them. And so like you're participating in this transaction with them. And I'm speaking about like one in particular that we love here. That like I've done this before and there's like this need, but it's not the same. And you're missing all the people that are there. But then like everyone's pushing the idea of like buying gift cards and these things that like when you can't do that, like, and brands that can't even do curbside or things like that, like these small businesses where how can you do that support of like buying gift cards and supporting them for the future? Do you think that like that's amazing that we're thinking about that? And I wonder if down the road when people are like going on vacation and they can't support their small business for like a period of time, if they will be having some of this in their mind, like I'm going to buy gift cards now and then I will spend it later or do things like that. Like I wonder if there's going to be a little bit of a mindset shift in that, like in the future of like, how can we continue to support small businesses when we're not able to support them like in the normal way?
Yeah, and that's a good question too, is like, I guess, you know, laddering off of that, what permanent changes will be in place after this quarantine? Like forever, you know, for sure, small businesses are going to be changed forever, right? Like JP was saying, the whole gift card thing, but like, what other things do you think are going to be a long-term change for certain industries or disciplines or whatever?
I think one, like to tie it back to like even what JP was saying, like I do think that this will be at every level and every scale beyond brand, but specifically with businesses, I think that it's a wake up call to especially small businesses on like, what is my contingency plan? Because like something like that's very possible. And I think like every brand is going to start to have a game plan because like they realize how fragile their business infrastructure probably is relative to something like this. And if you don't want to go out of business, like you need to have, hey, our backup plan is like, and maybe you'll think beyond this unique situation, but I do think people will realize that like there are real threats to how we do things that could change in the blink of an eye, that could wipe you out as a business. And I think that people will start to think about that. I could see industry spouting up for insurance against this. I could see like all kinds of shit that would like come out of it, but people are going to have to figure out a plan to deal with this kind of a situation because they know it's a potential.
That's so true. And I think like the landscape that we were living in prior, the climate that we were in even prior to the corona situation happening was one that was so plagued by uncertainty, not just here in the United States, but just globally. I mean, it feels every day like things are less secure in a way, you know? It's like you can't, like what is like the trust is pretty much at like a historic low according to data we've been reading. And like what is that going to do to industries and to businesses, like when people are bouncing back and they have this PTSD of like literally like who do you trust? Do you trust news? Do you trust brands? Do you trust like what, like where do you place that, you know? And like what is like this consumer doubt? And it's like rather than even just consumer, I don't want to cheapen us as human beings, like human doubt, like what is the response to that culturally, politically, socially, and then from businesses? And I think you're right. I think that we will see in each respective industry individually people coming to the table with these promises of trust and trying to find more validity and like really speaking right to that in their respective ways. But it's going to be interesting.
Well,
I think
go ahead.
I do also think like there's probably going to be some sort of a demand and reliance on government as a social safety net for situations like this, because this is sort of uncontrollable for businesses. Like if you're saying the economy just comes to a halt, that's like saying, hey, participate in this economy that's not doing much. And I think there's not an easy answer to navigate that and to be successful through that unless you happen to be in an industry that's this sort of situation proof.
At the same time though, a lot of people feel like politics are failing them right now. Our government, like we don't even have masks for people, you know.
100%.
So like those big players coming in.
Well, I agree, but that's why I think ultimately it's a wake-up call for people to sort of demand something else probably from their government that wasn't a requirement or at the top of anybody's radar, you know.
For sure.
It's really interesting because it seems like now is an opportunity for brands to step up to the plate and be like, hey, we really care about the community, right? Like for example, Pornhub. I know they donated like did they donate like 50,000 masks?
The hero we all
like,
needed.
Yeah, it's like really unexpected, but like they're doing shit. Honestly, you know what I mean? Like, more so than the government. So it's really interesting.
I was like their play of making like premium free.
Yeah,
like that to me it's like an interesting play for a brand like that.
It's brilliant.
And it meets a weird demand, but in an authentic way. They're not sending you an email saying like we're gonna get like, whatever.
You get that equality.
Yeah, I think
it's also interesting. Oh, go ahead.
Digital brands have a unique opportunity to like deliver on a need during this time that actually helps the larger sort of like the larger narrative of staying inside your house.
The interesting thing about the Pornhub thing,
everything free.
To take it back to porn, though. Hold on, take it back to porn.
Yeah, no, we're gonna go back to porn. No, it's more so interesting to think about from the fact of like when you know those decisions are being made. Like it is a very interesting play that they did, and like Pornhub is like ultra controversial in and of itself. So for them to do anything like that, to bring themselves into the limelight and be like, yo, actually, I think the benefit of this outweighs like the repercussions and like opening ourselves up for just like getting harassed again. Like, because there's always their little like sus things that they have going on. Like that's super interesting. Like they had to have thought about that and were like, actually, you know what? This is the thing that we're gonna do, and the good far outweighs the bad, and the bad can be massive.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting. Like we just live in a completely different time. Whole like hands around the world, or the Pepsi ad, the famous one that like brought a bunch of different like cultures and backgrounds together to sing. You know what I'm saying? Like we live in a completely different time than when a brand could just do an advertisement and say like, hey, we're woke. See this ad we did? You get it. We get it. Buy some soda. Like now the brand actually has to have, like you're saying, a service that actually offers during a time of need that authentically meets and fits into that narrative. And if you don't, just donate money and don't say anything. It's almost like,
I mean,
that's
true because go ahead, Emma.
Oh, no. Okay, 1, 2, 3. No, I was just gonna say like I was just gonna try to say that more than ever, like, will it be more like what's in it for me? Like when this passes, when you're thinking about brands, like who's in charge? Like what's that power dynamic, right? I mean, like obviously when you're buying a product, you're like, okay, well, I'm buying this for me. But like you have that lens on now of like, well, our like Pornhub, it's like, hey, they're there for the people, you know? And then we're like, we can get behind that. We can watch more porn, no problem, you know? But like other brands, it's like, hey, are they like doing this for us? Like, where's that? Because that wasn't really there before, you know? It was like, did it meet my unique need? Sure, I want this product, or sure, I believe the values of this brand. But like now it's like, hey, are they in this for the greater good? Do they care about people? You know?
Yeah, like are they actually delivering on those like quote unquote values that they actually have? Like more now than ever, probably shared values and interest, and not just having them, but acting on them, like you're saying, is what's going to be most important moving forward when it comes to me looking at a brand. Like, are you actually doing something? Are you delivering on a service? Are you doing X, Y, and Z to actually like deliver something even outside of your normal service that you deliver? Right. 100%. So yes, Pornhub is a digital thing. They can deliver a digital thing very easily. They actually don't have to go, they don't have to stretch that far. They just make something free and they're like, we're here for you. Breads, like for example, the burritos guy, Long Play. Not only is he delivering burritos and serving that need, but he's also doing like a live DJ set. And so again, it's like, how can brands that aren't in the digital space play in this space to actually deliver on some sort of entertainment need that stretches beyond what their original service might be, but it hits on like their overarching vibe and theme and gives something to people, I don't know, that they desire.
Exactly. And like what JP said too before about like the people behind things, like I think what we're realizing through all of this is that like convenience still is backed by people. And it's like we're just realizing how vast and how complex, how dependent, interdependent those webs are, right? Like even when you are getting a Postmates delivery, like there's still someone who's making a buck as a Postmates delivery person, right? And even if they're not a small business, it's like they're the human face, you know, and we're exposed to all of that now, which is really interesting.
Yeah. It is it's nice to see that there are brands out there who aren't capitalizing, right? Because there are people who are primed to make a lot of money in this market.
Yeah.
And they could do two things, right? Like some people would price gouge, or demand's going up. Like the natural thing for free market to do is like chip up prices, or you do something which is selfless and go like, I don't want to win on the back of a tragedy. So I'll discount because I know demand's gonna be high anyways. I can deliver more to more people and still be, you know, successful. So it's just like you see those, Pornhub being the example of somebody who's like, it's beneficial for us to do the right thing too, at the end of the day. And it's helpful for everybody.
Yeah, right. Like Netflix could just raise their prices, like very
100%.
And people will pay it because we're stuck inside the house.
Yeah.
Or all of those like online gaming platforms or whatever could, like Jackbox could up their price or like charge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how, and I'm one of them because I just ordered one, but Amazon sales for like desks and chairs and shit for people trying to build at-home offices now. Like I couldn't even find any like of the right colors that were in stock. Like that shit was like off the shelf.
Also like things from Amazon are they've deprioritized non-essentials, right? So they're taking a very long time to ship, which was like a really interesting tension point. And I felt a very, very first world problem for like one of the first times in my life where I was like, I'm not going to get my records for a week. What? I'm used to next day delivery.
Yeah.
And I complained about it to someone and they like, they put me in my place.
Yeah. Like even the
really?
things on Prime, they were like, they weren't even,
Prime,
it's like not even a thing. They're like, yeah, sorry, it'll be shipped in 4 weeks. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
So real quick, we're getting a couple comments from the YouTubers. So from David Carrillo, he says, now is the time for brands to plant seeds, not pick fruit. And we got Jam in here. What up, Jam? Because good examples, kind of like what happened with the NBA. Players pitching in money, then the front offices following their leads. Now's the time that people are learning the value of actual ethics and morals to empower business.
Yeah,
so really,
that's like so true. And I think that's what we're saying, like
analogy.
The idea of planting seeds.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to come out the other end as the brand who was there. and even like when we're talking about like small brands, I think it's forcing small companies and small businesses to break down the barrier between what is quote unquote business and the individual. So it's almost getting back to the basics of business, which is just building relationships.
Yeah.
And how do you utilize the tools that we have to build these relationships with your potential customer base or a new customer base or your existing customer base? Like just getting out in front of it and like putting your face out there, having conversations, talking. Because some of the restaurants that I've seen do it well are the restaurants that are just openly saying like, we are struggling, asking for donations and just being upfront, and the owner talking to the audience as if they are like the baker on the side of the or down the street who you know very personally.
Yes.
The best email I got like when I was not from any big corporation. It was from like I subscribed to get like a float. It's like a float tank, and they sent me an email saying we're going to close down. Whatever, it's not important. Don't leave that. Anyways.
Oh, float tank?
Yeah, my float tank subscription.
What do you
like
do?
a sensory deprivation tank. I do that twice a month. But anyways, they sent me an email. They're like, we're closing down, and they were like, if you want, you look. Didn't Nicole just say we need to take time for self-introspection or reflection? Now you're gonna shame me for some shit.
Float tanks are amazing.
But anyway, look, the point I'm making is like they sent an email and they were like, hey, we're going to close down. We're going to suspend all memberships. Like you won't pay for anything. If you want to help out and support our employees, we'll hold your credits for you and you can leave your membership active. And they like put the ball in our court. And I was like, yeah, I absolutely like do want to do that. Like, because it made me think about other people that worked for them that were probably going to hurt because of this shit going on. And I'm like, whatever, it doesn't hurt me. It's still my credits, whatever. And I'd rather just be a part of that. And it was just authentic. I think to the point you're making your own words, like upfront, authentic. And I feel more connected to like, oh, that feels like now a business that I want to support more than somebody who emailed me saying, well, let's stay in this together, hoping to keep my business after this is all over.
That's interesting. They basically, there's an interesting opportunity that brands who have subscriptions can transfer that sense of donation and giving back to their customer base.
Yes.
If they use the donate or if they use the subscription services to actually raise money or something.
They're raising half of it. Half of the money from their subscriptions go directly to their employees.
I love that. Like, yeah.
I wanted to bring something up on this note that's kind of similar but different. But did you guys all hear about how Facebook gave $1,000 to every employee, and the median income at Facebook is like over $200,000?
Yeah.
And I just was, I mean, I guess I'm giving my opinion just even the way that I just said that, but I'm like, you know what? What's that?
I said, drop some shade.
I'm dropping shade.
It's not a Brandbeats till we drop some shade.
Yeah. Gotta do it.
Facebook, what the fuck, man? But no, but seriously, I mean, that's great. Like, part of me is like, cool, that's awesome. Even if you are making a lot of money, that you don't know anyone's situation, that could help you out, right? But also, like, why not give that money to people who are in San Francisco in the Bay Area, who are in the service industry, who are out of fucking work and aren't making any money, right? Like, these people are working digitally, they're working remotely for probably the most part, you know, not the service industry people that are working at the cafeterias at Facebook, but large majority can work remotely. It's like, what's $1,000 gonna do to them? You know, give that money to somebody else.
Is Facebook closing down?
No.
Are they not? So why not give that to service industry people who are definitely closed down and stuck?
I agree. I mean, I don't think there's no debate there.
Yeah,
I think we all agree. We all agree with that.
They dropped.
I mean, like, it's these brands that are there that maybe contributed to the displacement of some small businesses and industries have an opportunity and moreover a responsibility to then give back and contribute in a time of need that's going to really push all of these small businesses out.
Yep. I think it goes back to the idea of planting seeds, not picking fruit. Like, I think things like Facebook or these other like utilities or things where brands rely on them to do whatever they want you to do. But in times where like a Facebook, a small business, that might be the only way that they can communicate to the people that make their business possible. And so like whenever I can't communicate anything good to you, how is like Facebook is useless to me, and how are you going to be useless, or like how are you going to provide for me and be there for me? And it's like, how are you going to plant that seed in me that like that I know that like this is going to be like a lasting relationship, that I can rely on you whenever things get rough in the future, because I am relying on you to build my future whenever things are good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If we had a mic, oh yeah, that's good.
Virtual high five.
It's true. And it's like at the same time, it's like, you know, I don't want to be like overly critical of an altruistic action by a company, right? Like they're trying to do, it's coming from a good place, right? They're trying to do something for their employees. So I always like, I don't want to be a person that's like letting perfect be the enemy of like progress, but you know, it is. Go ahead.
I was like, also, we don't know if they are doing something on the back end.
It might.
They
might be.
Right. And so
I think throwing at me for making that point now. They're gonna be like, you hater.
No, I think it's a valid point to make. Like, we don't have the data and the insights to know if they are doing something on the back end. But brands who aren't contributing and using maybe what they have in excess to then give back. To me, that is a huge miss. There's a huge opportunity there for business, for profitability in the long run, if you just give back. Because also you're keeping more people in the space and all of this other stuff, and people will trust you more as an organization and a company. And I think the things that we have seen where brands have donated money to the cause or given something or created something or shifted their, even their infrastructure to then move to delivering something to hospitals, that to me is it's super special. And I don't even necessarily view it as a business move. I just view it as like they are trying to support this larger sort of human catastrophe that we're going through. They're supporting humanity. It's not that they're necessarily only doing it for profit in the long run.
Exactly. That's the thing. You can't really do anything now without considering the impact. I think that's interesting. And I also think this might be a can of worms, but I'll take one worm out and I'll just leave it there. But like change, one worm. Like climate change, like why can't we have this type of mentality around something that's arguably as dire? And like it's I said it was a can of worms.
We don't recognize things until they directly affect us. Like as like humans, until things like hit us on the head, we're like, no, that's not really an issue. Like before it got here, we still were like, that's not an issue. When our team was in New York a couple of weeks ago, and it was like 19 to 100 something, people in New York still were like, yeah, we good. Like, we don't recognize things until it directly impacts and affects us and hits us on the head. Like
when I remember in like December, you were like, I think I have coronavirus.
What?
Like you were already like
was it a
worrying
thing?
about it back in December.
You still came to the office?
No, we were well, that's what I'm saying. Like we were lighthearted about it and we were joking about it because it wasn't.
Yeah.
Like we didn't.
No, it was still in China at that point. But I was saying like you were even aware of it, like that it was like gonna be a bigger issue, like in December. And I was like, yeah, right. Like we're fine. Psych.
But that's like we as human beings, like we don't want to recognize that something is going to have that large of an impact on us because we really want to live our lives. We have that selfish nature. I think that was what's like. I much like in this rose-colored glasses thing, where I'm just like seeing all the connections that we're making and how like personable or like how deeply connected and intentional we've been with connection. That I completely forgot about all the fights that were happening over toilet paper. Like the fact that that's happening at this time that I'm seeing these like deep, rich connections, but then people are fighting over toilet paper. It does show this really interesting like duality to our existence. We really want to connect and we really have this desire for tribalism, but then that we are also hella selfish. That's what we should
do.
Yo, not even like fighting over toilet paper, but like someone bought like a bunch of fucking toilet paper from like different stores and like price gouged it. Almost like Martin Shkreli.
Somebody, you know, we should start a social hashtag where we give a roll of toilet paper to a neighbor on camera.
Virtual
Ooh.
toilet paper.
I like
Toilet
that a
paper.
lot, actually.
Give a roll out. You gotta give
Yeah.
a roll to a neighbor.
So
I have
VR.
like 2 more rolls I can give out, so
Roll one
I'm
out.
good.
I said virtual reality TV. That wouldn't work.
You know what I thought about
You
though?
like you look at your hand and
TV.
you look at your hand and it's toilet paper just so you can like mentally. Okay.
Wow. Where's the hand sanitizer after that? That is like
Shout.
I did literally think about that though. I was like, if I ever run out of toilet paper, like what's the worst that would happen? I was like, I'm just gonna go knock on my neighbor's door and be like, can I borrow a roll of toilet paper? Like,
Yo,
what
honestly,
the hell?
Erwin, you're Filipino, man. We don't use toilet paper, bro. We got a bucket. That's all we need.
who's got a bidet? Andrew, are
I
you
was gonna say
bidet?
we all.
I got a bidet. It's not hooked up at the moment.
What?
What are you doing?
Yeah, get
Oh,
that.
you're out here
Because
buying
look,
up toilet paper
Right.
when you have a
This is gonna
bidet.
be
You're wasting
really
toilet
specific.
paper, man.
This is gonna be really specific, but I have an oddly shaped toilet, and my bidet doesn't quite.
This is getting a little.
No, this is the realness.
This is honestly, this is the real Brandbeats right here.
Andrew, we've established that you do the whole sensory deprivation chamber and you're upset that your subscription is not coming through. And,
I am upset about that.
And you have a bidet, but you don't use it.
I have an oblong shaped toilet, and it doesn't allow the bidet mechanism to work.
Aren't they all oblong? They're not perfect.
It's extra oblong. It's like super oblong. I don't know.
When's the last time you said the word oblong? It's like such a weird word.
Yeah, that is a weird word I'd never
We
use.
need to use that in
Moments
some
ago.
campaign.
Oblong.
That should be a new basic initiative.
The new basic standard is we're going to use oblong in everything. Somewhere in some copy.
Love the
oblong
oblong.
curve.
Do you think? Wait, to go back to something you were saying to the can of worms you're opening. I do think that people will use this situation as a reminder about global or about climate change, because I think there's a fragility that's being exposed of our civilization and infrastructure to something that is bigger than we can control. Like there's nothing we can do about a pandemic other than like use science to the best of our ability. And the same sort of thing would happen with a situation with climate change. And I think that they will use this as a reason to remind people how fragile we are to like.
Yeah. And I think we talked about this a little bit, the fact that in order to curb climate change, there needs to be this huge shift in how people act. There needs to be new habits and all of that stuff, reducing emissions. And everybody said it's impossible. And it basically took this pandemic to show that it is possible to curb climate change.
Yeah, like is this our test
like
run?
The fact that CO2 emissions have gone down in this time, that's huge. And to Andrew's point, I think it gives now an opportunity for us to actually have that dialogue and that conversation around, we can actually change this. It's not out of our control. Things are actually going down and reducing when we all stay.
Yeah, like
and so
oh my God.
The answer isn't another pandemic, obviously, but there could be an answer in there somewhere.
But there's very visual representations though of like our impact, specifically with climate change, the clear water in fucking Venice. You can actually see the fish. Nicole saw dolphins in the fucking San Diego Bay, which maybe that's regular current.
No, not really. I don't think so. Not in
but
the day.
But there are real like tangible like things that are show like, look, we have an effect on our environment in a more impactful way than we probably realize.
Yeah. I think the biggest lesson that we can take away too, like talking about like connecting, it's like I just keep thinking the word solidarity, you know, and I mean, I think most people, even like the Instagram stay home tag thing, like I mean, everyone's banding together for the greater good right now as much as possible, hopefully. And like I don't want to say that anything as dire or directly impactful climate wise would ever happen, but it's like we have this test run now where it's like, hey, we can do this. Like we can give up our subscriptions, or we can not you know, get our 2-day shipping and we're okay. Like, what else can we do for all of us? That's like a small sacrifice that now is putting in, you know, it's like.
I like that. It's a small test run. We can give up our subscription, guys.
Yeah, Owen's face was like, nope, I'm not gonna do that.
You know what I mean? So like we are creatures of comfort, you know?
Yeah, we are.
We can give up our straws. We can give up our bags. We can just bring our own bags and grocery store.
Come on.
I do have a metal. I get metal straws. Come on.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
not,
right.
like I'm a progressive individual. I float.
At least Andrew has a bidet. He's just not using it. That's okay.
I'm saving it.
That's a true flex. That's like the same as Kanye West standing on his own mountain looking at his own land. Andrew having a bidet and not using it.
It doesn't fit on my toilet. I wanted to use it. Okay.
Is it a tushy?
No.
A tushy.
See, it's not that bougie. It's like a $30 one I bought on Amazon.
Is Tushy a brand? I've never heard of that.
Tushy's a brand that has a portable bidet. We looked that up, man.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
It's like
maybe I need to buy one of those.
Love that name.
Yeah. So it's just a shower head at that point.
The portable bidet.
Yeah.
It's just a.
As I hold this.
It's actually just a turkey baster.
It is. It's like a fucking turkey baster. You just stick it up there.
I hate you all.
But yeah, I do think post this, like the fact that, like you're saying, we've seen that we can do it and we can stand in solidarity even if we can't do it in the grocery stores. But we can do it from a distance in our own homes. We can connect. To me, that has still been a piece of inspiration coming out of this. And the time that people have had to actually be introspective and really think about who they are as individuals. Like I've actually seen a lot of like Instagram influencers who only post like those like posing pics. They're now actually showing another side of themselves by like building computers or doing whatever. Like you're getting way more authentic representations of individuals and people during this time. And that to me, I hope continues post this. I hope it doesn't just go like flip the switch and then we're right back to like how we were with influencers, with selfishness, with kind of self-serving social media content. Like I hope it remains at least in this space of solidarity and like connectedness and true community.
Yep. Yeah, just to close the loop, I guess, like
close that loop, bro.
What do you think is going to happen after all this? I mean, we talked about a little bit of that, but are people going to start to like sanitize more? Like, what are some
hands?
Exactly. What's going to happen?
Definitely sanitizing more. Because like when we were in New York, I just, after like announcement happened, after like we had to sanitize everything, like everywhere I was going, I was sanitizing, wash my hands, whatever. But then I started like noticing just how dirty we are as people, and how much we touch our face and how much we put things in our mouth after not washing our hand. Like every time you're walking down the street and you put gum in your mouth, you don't wash your hands. You just reach into your pocket, you just touch some handle. You're on a subway and then you just grab a piece of gum and slide it into your mouth.
Ew, what the
It's a weird description, but I see the point. Yeah.
But it's true.
Like, it is. I think you're not washing your hands before. That's the whole thing. It's like this is such a revelation to like wash your hands thoroughly. I'm like, what? Were you just like doing one of these like and leaving before I went to the bathroom?
I think so many people were doing that, or so many people were just.
I could vouch for that. Yeah, there's so many dudes that were just like in the bathrooms.
That's true. A lot of dudes do not wash their hands.
Sounds like these are some personal confessions coming through right now.
I mean,
I always wash my hands out of the bathroom.
But
you don't want to be overly clean because
you don't want to get all those germs off your body.
You want to make sure you get some germs in your immune system. You don't want to be a bubble boy, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, besides
Annie too, because you don't want to get that super bug going, you know?
Exactly.
That's true.
You got to be careful with that.
Yeah.
Besides being clean, obviously, after all of this ends, I think like as it relates to businesses, I think businesses are going to start probably leaning more towards like a trusting model than they are now. I think that it's going to really kind of shape what work from home means to a lot of businesses, and maybe it'll actually make them more open to having just people work from home if they can actually see that it's a thriving and, you know, just an actual model that works. I think it's just going to instill more trust in like owners and all of that with their employees, and just knowing that it's actually sustainable and it can work, and it actually makes people more productive and more creative. So
yeah,
I completely agree with that. I think there's actually been a lot of interesting conversations, yes, working from home, but also with the progress that we've had with social justice and equality within the workspace. How does work from home actually shift or change that?
yeah,
right? Like, does it make it easier to actually have equal standing because you're not necessarily always face to face and you're just kind of being judged for your ideas sometimes?
Yeah.
Or does it make it harder because you're not actually able to build those like more intimate relationships where people can
Yeah.
see past your color, your race, your gender, whatever? So it's like this double-edged thing.
Yeah.
That's gonna take like a whole new method on us actually approaching and approaching that issue of equality within the workspace now that we're all kind of separated. And even like micro conversations that would often happen where you're like, just you're finding solidarity with another person who's within your group at your office who also feels a certain way, and you guys begin to bond together and then form maybe something else that then helps to push change. Those things are now going to be harder as well if you're not within the space or within an organization. So I think there's going to be a lot of like shifts in that way as well.
Well, and I was listening to a podcast. I kind of mentioned this before we all started, but Emma, actually, you gave me the recommendation, the Sam Harris podcast that you listened to. He posted another really great one yesterday about just like the future of work from home, and he interviewed the owner of WordPress and how he kind of has moved to more of this model of work from home, and he's like really distinguished 5 levels of working from home. And like most businesses, 95% of people are functioning on this like level 1, where like you absolutely have to be in the office in order to be productive. And he functions on this level 5, where every single person at his company that he's created now works from home in like every single country. And he says that like when you basically sign the papers to say that you're going to work at his company, you're agreeing to like, you're also agreeing to meeting up a specific time, like a specific amount of times per year to actually like collaborate like with your people. And so it's actually, it's like a, I don't know, it's a really interesting podcast. Like I could go on and on about it with everything that he says in it, but he just says that it's like a really successful model, and he gives really, really good tips on how to actually like share your screen when you're, you know, in meetings, and actually taking notes like on the screen so people can actually be accountable and have responsibility for what's going on in those meetings, and gives autonomy to people who normally wouldn't have a voice. Gives them sort of like a little bit more comfort in knowing that they can like speak their truth in meetings without having like an executive like look over their sleeve. So it was really good.
Yeah, I liked what he talked about the written word too. I haven't finished it yet, but I started listening to it today, and he's like, sometimes we hire people that we don't even talk to, like on film or even vocally. We place a lot of emphasis. He's like, we hire a lot of humanities graduates because writing is so important, and I think writing, he says, not me, I think writing is one of the most, I do believe this too, but one of the most important like communication tools, and so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think to answer Eric's question about what's going to come from this, and it's piggybacking off of that, it's I think the communication is going to become, there's going to be a little bit more emphasis, or people are going to think about their communication a little bit more. As someone who works with all of you guys remote every day, like communication is the only way that it's possible. So for me, like this is business as usual. It's just that everyone's getting to hang at the same time. But I think there's going to be, I think there will be a sense of like more awareness of their communication, and when they're actively communicating and how we're communicating and what we're saying moving forward from this, just because it is forcing everyone, not everyone in the world, but a massive amount of people in the world to do it at the same time, and they're all going through this learning experience together. And I think there's going to be a little, not that it's going to be profound and that it's going to be like tangible and we're all going to be able to see this shift, but I think there's going to be a shift in people's mindsets on like, how am I saying this and am I saying it effectively, which could be very interesting.
Yeah.
So Jonathan Horst in the comment says, Someone who's worked remotely for years, I find managing building rapport slower unless you're intentional, but maintaining relationships isn't hard.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that he said the point about intentional, because that's like one thing I've noticed about this in general. It's like I'm a person who pretty much relies on social interaction to happen serendipitously. And this is sort of focused or forced me to be like very intentional with like, oh, like I have like employees that I like normally like talk to that it happens naturally. And I'm like, I need to like reach out and make sure I like make an effort to do it versus like letting it happen organically. And look, that's been a big shift for me. And it's not just been with work, it's been in personal life too, where I'm like, yeah, the shit that happens normally, I'm picking up the phone and just calling people, like going, hey, how you doing? Which is something I never do. You know, I always text people, but I'm like, yeah, I might as well. Like, why? Like, I don't get to see this person face to face like I normally do.
Yeah, it's been the same for me. Like, I'm calling parents more, which I never did before, but now it's like we're like talking on a daily basis. You know, it's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. I know my mom is stoked.
You guys know people downloading like or inviting you to download apps like Marco Polo or like House Parties? Anyone download any of those?
Jackbox for sure.
Jackbox
has been a good one.
Jackbox, I don't know that one.
That one's good.
It's a game.
You need to do it.
Download it. It's fun. It's a fun time for sure.
I'm about to buy a Switch, and
are you?
We got one.
I'm gonna get Animal Crossing. For sure.
Dude, get Mario.
No, I want Animal Crossing. I want to make my own island. Do whatever else you do on Animal Crossing. I want to play God for a little bit.
Play God.
It's actually an interesting point, real quick, just to mention about Animal Crossing is like, someone was saying, Animal Crossing is a way for everyone under quarantine to like live vicariously through these like avatars or characters, and I'm like, damn, like that's really fucking true because we can't do this shit right now. We can't like go out and farm in real life. We can't go out and like.
I mean, you can't.
Kind of weird. Well, yeah.
It's like
it's fucked up.
Hmm?
You know it's fucked. Yeah, I was gonna say, you know it's fucked up. It's like I've had a PlayStation here in my house for forever, and literally a week before this all happened, I brought it into the office so that people could play it. And now I don't have it. I'm locked away from it. Yeah. So
just break into that PlayStation.
Just reading books. Doing
Again,
shit like
third world problems or first world problems.
Damn, I gotta read books.
Third world
what is book? We got a ping pong table, and that's been the best. I'm playing Tom Hanks over here in Forrest Gump. You're playing God on Animal Crossing. I'm like,
are you really? It's exhausting. You gotta play serious.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, and that's it, folks. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Just kidding.
We wrap it up.
I think that's it.
Oh, we got, man. We exhausted this issue. We solved it.
We solved the pandemic. Good job, guys.
Honestly, like even so, going back to the initial question of what do we think will happen, I think in this you've heard just a lot of different musings on what could possibly happen. We don't know. We don't. I was gonna say we ain't got the answer, Sway, but we definitely do not know exactly what's gonna happen. But I think from this, you can just say hopes, and so like that could be how we this like just go around and say like what do we hope will come from this?
Yeah.
Oh.
Go.
Go ahead.
Go.
Me?
I can't ask the question and then say it. That's like
I can start. I'll start it. Fuck it. I'll start this shit off. So what I said in the Webby story, if you're watching on Webby's Takeover, what we have right now, like this whole, like I was saying, like this feeling of solidarity and like unity that has brought everyone together across the globe. Like I think we shouldn't lose this. And this is so really beautiful that I think it's taken, you know, an unfortunate circumstance to bring about, but I really think we should continue this forward, you know, and however way we can, but just having people connect. I think that's my biggest like hope for the future.
Mm-hmm. I guess my hope, I have two. My hope would be that like the one thing that I'm starting to realize is like being intentional about connecting with people, and the second piece would be that maybe teachers make a little bit more money now that parents realize how much they deal with every day.
Yeah, that's true. That's hella true.
Oh,
I hope we can wear PJs every day in the real world.
Oh my god, I would love that.
dude, I was gonna say that. My one thing that I hope we begin to as a culture is just dressing comfy. I invested in a bunch of comfy clothes at the end of last year because I had an Adidas gift card. And I just want that to be normal.
Honestly, all of you out there, follow Erwin on Instagram. Like for the past year, he's been wearing nothing but cozy fits.
Cozy.
Whole sweatsuits, everything.
And now that's all I'm going to be posting on my Instagram.
That's
Okay,
right.
giving speech to business casual. We're done with it.
Just casual. That's it.
It's the fear of God, Jerry Lorenzo look.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a athleisure. I
is.
get it. Yeah, it's a new way.
Yeah.
My hope.
It's just leisure.
My hope is that people continue to look at the repercussions of how they're spending their money, or the kind of the cycle of it all, and not just kind of that single picture, that individualist mindset of this is what I want, this is why I'm buying it. You think a little bit more about how we're spending our money, or not even just spending money, but just like the intentions behind interactions with people and how that affects down the line.
That's super interesting. Like this idea of, yes, we want instant gratification. We're a now culture, but our now dollars are way more considered. Like we'll wait a little bit longer if there's a lot more stuff that's going into that process, that we're actually getting a transference of the good that brand is doing.
Mm-hmm.
My hope is that people will actually start to realize the importance that mental health plays in just your overall well-being. I think there's been so many people that have just been texting me and messaging me saying like, I'm so stressed out, I don't even know how to deal with this, and just being at home drives people stir crazy as it is. So my hope would just be, hey, come here. My hope would just be that, people just start to realize the importance of mental health and kind of just start doing more things to improve that.
Yes, because this has been my best friend.
Oh,
is this Animal Hour? Houston.
Melon.
This has been my best friend through this. He's been seeing me through it with
Houston.
Love that.
If you're listening through audio, that's Erwin's cat right now. His chubby ass cat.
I don't know where he is. Huey's like throwing a fucking revolt against me in this quarantine. He's like, why the fuck are we in this house all the time? He ain't coming.
I was gonna grab my cat, but I just scared the shit out of it. So he ran away.
Nation also would get cats. See, cats are good during times of struggle. They don't have to go outside. There's a lot you can learn from a cat. They're patient.
But you guys,
they chill. Yeah, cats are
good.
Cats are peaceful creatures.
I just want. I'll have a cat when I can have an indoor-outdoor cat.
No,
I like them to be free.
That's negating the learning that you can glean from the cat life.
You have a bougie cat.
That's what you gotta get.
I want a street cat.
You gotta,
stray cat.
You gotta get the bidet of a cat.
Cat.
To match the rest of your lifestyle.
That's your pet's name.
True.
Bidet?
No, oblong.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's not a bad name.
That's a cartoon.
I would say Kramer's oblong. Kramer is already oblong.
He is oblong.
Also, just in case, is there anybody still on? Are people still
11 people.
We got some viewers on here. Yeah, we got 9 people watching right now. Yeah.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions before we end this?
We got one comment from Jonathan Horst once again. He says, I hope for a greater sense of community.
Love that.
Same.
Well put.
I think that's happening.
Oh,
yeah, you guys all here.
Everyone's signing.
Oh, it's like the Korean heart.
Oh yeah, finger hearts.
Oh, it's cute.
That's cute.
It's really cute.
How does I don't even think my.
Do you not know? Use your fingers?
Am I doing it right?
Should we all do like a good angle?
Right.
Like, should we all be like?
There you go.
Just to like
Gotta cross it.
No, you're the only one who did.
The only Asian woman can do
it.
1, 2, 3.
What?
No one wanted to be a part of
Story of
that.
my life. I'm okay. I also just went like 1 through 3. So.
But yeah,
She's gone
I
off
think
the rails.
we all agree. A greater sense of community and connection coming out of this would be the most ideal scenario. But I definitely think people are going to get ratchet.
I mean, it's already happening.
Yeah.
No, it's all like right after this when we can all like go outside again.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fucking wild.
Dude, the clubs are gonna be like disgusting.
Because they're going to be jumping.
I'm
There's gonna be a lot of
serious.
streakers. That's my prediction.
Emma, I don't think you had a takeaway. Did you?
Like the next Coachella is gonna be.
Oh my god.
It's gonna be wild.
Emma, what's your takeaway?
My takeaway, yeah, I was kidding about the pajamas, kind of, but I guess like more conscious behavior, I think, is my hope. I think community is cool. I think just being in touch with ourselves is the biggest thing for me. Like, you know, what?
Being in touch with yourself by Pornhub. There you go.
No, we're not talking about Pornhub right now. We're talking about the future. No, but seriously, I do think like being conscious and like thinking about your impact as not just for me, but for like the ripple effect that you have in every move that you make, for better or worse, I think is my hope. People being conscious of that. For real.
Poetic.
Well said.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Okay,
right.
bye. Love you
Sure.
guys.
Yeah, let's end this.
All right.
Yeah, how do we do this? Oh, do we need to do our closing?